Fruitful Living with Sissel Anderson. Here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm Keith Downey, your host, and this morning we're talking about the importance of saying no, and of course the more kind of maybe unknown side, the penitential side of Advent with Sissel Anderson. Good morning, Sissel.
Good morning, Keith. It's good to be with you.
Likewise, I really have a tough time on saying no when people ask of things for me. Like, I always want to say yes. I don't want to let anybody down. And this is a good topic, I think.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's always an interesting time when we're looking out in the world right now and there's very little no being happening anywhere, because we're in this beautiful season of Advent. It's the new year of the church, and so with that comes like certain things that the church kind of asks us to do in preparation for the coming of our Lord, and we often forget. Like, we see the priests, they're wearing purple, just like violet. I don't want to get in trouble with any priests. Violet and rose, they're wearing violet just like they do in Lent. And so it would kind of sometimes miss in this, we're talking about preparing for Christ's coming, and you're like, that sounds great. Yes, we're preparing. But what does that mean for us specifically, and what is our job in that? What do you mean prepare? Like, when you prepare something, what do you have to do? Like, when you're preparing for someone to come over to your house, Keith, what do you have to do?
Well, it's a massive undertaking of cleaning, which is actually kind of why we do that. It's like, well, if we invite people over to our house, that means we actually get to clean the house. So it's kind of a win-win, but it's tough. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, it's a lot of cleaning. It's a lot of preparing. You're trying to put your best foot forward for your friends. You want to make it look like your house wasn't an actual disaster all, the year long. And right at Christmas and Thanksgiving, you're like, whoa, look at us, we're clean. That was me right before Thanksgiving too. But interestingly, that kind of ties into also what we do for Advent, because that penitential season it's an opportunity for us to prepare, quiet, and discipline our hearts. So maybe when we're like doing preparation for our like families coming over and stuff like that, you're realizing, I never organized this one thing that's been sitting there forever. Let me deal with that so it's done. I've been neglecting this. Well, similarly, when we're talking about our spiritual life, we might be going in this new year season of Advent. There's some spiritual aspects of my life I've been neglecting, whether that be I've been neglecting getting in that daily prayer life. I've been neglecting going to confession regularly. I've been neglecting being really intentional and focusing in mass. That's a really big one. It's like on most, I don't know about what examination of conscience is that you do, Keith, but a lot of the ones that I do, one of the first questions is, have I been willfully unfocused in mass? And more often than not, I have to say yes, because there's been once or twice I'm just like, I start thinking about something and I'm just going off in la land, and I am not directing and disciplining my brain to go back. So the season of Advent is a penitential time. It's not quite to the extent that Lent is, but it is. We do penance through prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And you think of the word fasting right before Christmas, you're like, what, are you crazy? Like, you look out, they had the Christmas candies out like come right. October or September. And if you go to craft stores, it's really been out since like July. So it's really an odd thing counteracting with our culture right now. And that the whole point is that we're supposed to be kind of, I'm not saying you can't have cookies and things like that and have nice, fun treats, but we sometimes misorder it. We misorder how we're supposed to do things. We think about how busy your families are right in the final weeks leading up to Christmas. There's the soccer team has a party. The choir has a party. This has a party. Like, everything has a party. Now, if they're a Catholic choir, they probably will have one after Christmas. But we force it all to happen before the 25th of December, forgetting that we have a whole Christmas season that really starts on Christmas Eve after you go to Mass and going into the octave of Christmas. And it's really beautiful. But we kind of are like, we spread it out. And in America, we have Thanksgiving, so that at least kind of slightly holds back, all the Christmas chaos. But in other countries, November 1st, it's up. Like, everything, Christmas is up. And so how can we better say no to certain things, and also, like, in the season be like, okay, maybe I don't need to do all of these, have all these cookies and all these things right now. I'm saying cookies because that's like a pretty, pretty basic one, but there's a lot more things we fast from that are not, food and stuff like that. There's like, okay, I don't need to maybe spend this much time on my phone. I need to do this. And when doing that, we have an opportunity to prepare our hearts better for the make room for Jesus. So just like we make room in our homes, we have to make room for Jesus when Christmas comes.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great set of advice, because if we don't make room for him now in preparation, like Christmas is going to come and go before we know it, and are we going to be ready? And even Monsignor Charles Pope mentioned that if we do not go to confession at least once during Advent, what are we doing? What are we doing? So...
Yeah, it just kind of goes to show, like, sometimes we're just not ordered correctly on how we're supposed to be, planning out these coming weeks. And I sit here and I'm, like, planning out what I have to do before Christmas. And my weekends, my weeknights, they're getting filled up really quickly, I will admit. And so sometimes I have to, like, I'm going to have to take a step back and reevaluate and say, am I taking time to get to one thing at my parish? Like an Advent reflection, can I get to the parish mission that they're having? Can I go? My parish does the Rorate masses on Saturday morning, 6 a.m., bright and early. It's a beautiful Marian mass. It starts with candlelight, and it starts in darkness, and it's really awesome. Can I fit one of these things in so that I am prioritizing? Because when I say that we need the importance of saying no, it means saying no to some things so you can say yes to others. So we can say no to, okay, maybe we can't participate in every single thing that gets thrown our way, every single little, thing that might be a distraction, but we can change and say, I'm not going to go to this, but I'm going to go to confession. I'm going to go to adoration. I want to do something to better prepare my heart so that I can more joyfully receive at Christmas. Because I know when I became Catholic, the season of Advent was a little bit hard and confusing. And I think a lot of people find that. A lot of people struggle with Advent. Yes. Lent, you're like, okay, we got it. Hardcore, let's go. Whereas Advent is more nuanced, I think. And so everyone is just like, well, what do I do? Like, am I supposed to just completely give up all these things? Am I supposed to do this? It's that joyful anticipation. But it's kind of like, if you looked at your presents on like December 1st, you're going to be pretty disappointed on Christmas, right? Like you know what's happening. You haven't prepared. You're just like, you're jumping the gun. And so similarly, when we are taking time to not fully go into the full Christmas season yet and really like just sitting in this quiet anticipation of Advent, Christmas is just that much more amazing, that much more joyful. And it's awesome. I have a very dear friend who loves Christmas and she loves Advent, and it's awesome to hear her. And it's kind of helped me myself, like listening to her joy. And that she says, like, without fail, every Christmas mass she goes to, she is crying because she's like, we're at Jesus's birthday party. It is amazing. And I think it's so funny. I love that so much. But I mean, I don't think many of us even comprehend how amazing the Christmas mass is if we didn't properly prepare in the season of Advent.
Right. Well, and I don't know, the mass seems even deeper in a sense because, right, it's Jesus is he's born in a manger. We essentially Bethlehem is bread, like that's kind of the definition of Bethlehem, like what it translates to.
City of bread.
And we eat the bread of life. Like it's there's so many beautiful. I guess you'd say nuances to the Mass on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve for the Christmas Eve Mass. So yeah, and that's another thing too is that people get really depressed after Christmas ends because that's kind of it. But we've all had it. I mean, if you go follow the liturgical calendar, like you start with Advent, that prepares us, and then Christmas is a long celebration. And people don't realize, it's funny because
people think that we're missing out in some way because you're like, oh, well, you're not spending all the weeks preparing, for Christmas and celebrating Christmas, and then you're gonna miss out. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Catholics, we fast hard, but we also feast hard. Like we have days of feasting that is like supposed to be, we're supposed to just be able to celebrate and be joyous that the arrival of our Savior has come, and it's just such a beautiful time of the year. And so I just want to, we're in the first week, maybe life hasn't gotten completely hectic yet. You're still like, planning out what's going to happen. I just ask you to take like some time to be introspective and figure out what gaps do you have in your spiritual life. Again, we are so lucky in the church that our church calendar starts now. And we have this time to prepare so that we're ready for Christmas. And then I feel like you have the secondary, like with the yearly calendar, you have a take two of like, I'm going to try again, start it over again. I'm going to read the Bible every day again. we have this opportunity to do it now, because sometimes what us and our like goals, our spiritual goals, kind of trickle out at the end of the year. You're like, wait till the new year. I'm going to try that again. I'm going to try to pray every day. And I'm just going to challenge you to do that now. If it's prayer that you're lacking in daily prayer, reading the Bible daily, or maybe just attending, even if you're struggling with your, weekly mass attendance, come up with one little thing that you can do to add in, or something that you can remove so that you can make the time to add in one of those beautiful sacraments that we have to help us in this season of Advent. Let's see, did I have anything else to say? I think that was it.
Well, I have a question. Is it okay at least to say no to somebody if maybe you're invited to a Christmas party during Advent?
That's a good question. Ooh, that's a difficult question. So,
That is.
I have a lot of the parties I would get invited to are in Catholic circles, and our church is pretty strict about having Advent events and not Christmas events. So like my young adult group will be doing our Christmas party after Christmas. And so I'm trying to think what I would do. I think you have to determine, you could maybe you could go, but be like, hey, this is like, don't go crazy and, pig out on the feast, and just be like, hey, I'm offering some of this up right now. Or you could say no and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to really respect this year. If that's something that's really a challenge for you, maybe, I think it's going to have to be personal. You're going to have to decide, is this something that's going to hinder my journey in preparing for Advent? Or is it something that's just like, this is a close to your friend of mine I've known for years. They know I'm Catholic, and they know that I'm not big on celebrating Christmas before Christmas. You can kind of discern, I think, in that way. That was my really intelligent answer for that.
No, that was great. Yeah, better than mine, which would have been just wearing all purple and telling people Happy Advent.
The snipey part of my brain was just like, yes, just go and just say happy. They say Merry Christmas. You're like, Happy Advent.
Yes.
Like, you're just like, to every response, and they're like, the way that actually has come out of my mouth when I'm like checking out. One time, like, they're saying Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas, and I'm like, Happy Advent, and I was like, oh. Hey,
hey, that's a good
think
way
about
of
that. Ponder
evangelizing.
that.
Yeah, think about it. Like, what?
Mic drop. Walk away. But
Don't
I'm
even
praying
explain.
Don't even explain. I'm praying for you all this Advent. Let's all try to prepare our hearts so that we can have a truly joyous Christmas in just a few weeks.
Amen. Wow. Thank you so much, Sissel, for joining us every single Wednesday. We can also catch you on Back to the Father Friday afternoons on YouTube, 1 p.m. Central. And that is it for Morning Joy, where truth matters this morning. Now, tomorrow on Morning Joy, we're going to be joined with Alan Smith on Bishop Sheen today, so stay tuned for that tomorrow. For those listening on Guadalupe Radio Network right now, stay tuned. Toya Hall and Dave Palmer are about to kick off day number 3 of the Christmas Share-a-thon. And hey, shout out to all of those Morning Joy listeners who donated over the course of the last few days. Thank you for representing us. And hey, let's have that first caller today be a Morning Joy or two. We are going to do a quick after show right after this. For those listening in on Catholic Spirit Radio and Aquinas Communication, hey, God bless and make it a joyful day. We'll see you bright early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern, here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.